I tell people all the time, you ain't see nothing or experience nothing until you in the garden when it's rocking. You understand? When it's rocking, there's no better place in the world to be in.
Alcohol, right?
Now this season, things are going to be quite interesting for our guy, Mr. Candyman himself, Josh Hart, as the starting unit does need a player like him who brings plenty of intangibles to this unit. Because Karl-Anthony Towns, he's not necessarily a player who's known on the defensive end, especially in him with being in this drop back coverage right here. The Knicks are going to need plenty of guys in that starting unit to go over the top and fight through screens, as they have Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby. So all three of these guys right here is going to provide plenty of coverage, as you're going to see right here coming off this screen. So with Towns, you see how he drops back. The Knicks going to need guys to apply defensive pressure from behind, because Towns, he doesn't necessarily keep his hand up, and he doesn't necessarily always have the best positioning to defend the pass or the alley hoop. So it's not like he has his hands up like a player like Rudy Gobert right here. As you can see, hands are not necessarily up, and he doesn't have the lateral quickness to recover. So players like Josh Hart, Mikal Bridges getting over these screens and just applying pressure from behind is going to be real important this season. So with Josh Hart, this is why I'm starting off on the defensive end in regards to his game, because this season, as we wait on Mitchell Robinson to make his return, it's going to be interesting to see how Tibbs maneuvers around these lineups, because it wouldn't shock me if the Knicks kind of go to a similar formula that the T-Wolves had done last season, which is playing two bigs. A combination of Rudy Gobert and Towns helped Minnesota achieve a top seed in the Western Conference. Just a quick side note, they had the ability to stick a big body on Jokic and also have Rudy Gobert defend. As right here, you're going to see Rudy Gobert act like he's going to double, and this is a role Mitch could play. But he really is going to defend this pass. It's sort of a fake right here. This is just a quick side note, as I don't want to get off track, but just when Mitch makes his return, these are some of the considerations that Tibbs might have when, depending on the matchup. Karl-Anthony Towns is not quite the rim protector, especially when he has to recover vertically, as Mitchell Robinson has shown in the past. And hopefully Mitch loses a little weight, kind of gets lighter on his feet, because we're forgetting when he first came into the league, this guy was closing out and blocking players at the three-point line. So long gone are those days. It's like a forgotten memory in a way. But if we could somewhat get that sort of Mitchell Robinson back, it could be kind of a nice 1-2 punch defensively with Karl-Anthony Towns. But that's just me getting off track. I can go on and on and on about that. But going back to Josh Hart, once again, the Knicks, they're going to need a lot of the intangibles that he brings. Just looking at some of the flaws of Karl-Anthony Towns defensively, and just adding him in the combination of Mikal Bridges along with OG Anunoby, it's a nice little combo. Here's another prime example of what I'm talking about right here with Towns on the drop back. As you see, OG is the one that's getting screened, but his ability to fight over this screen. It's almost like now with the Knicks, pick your poison. Teams like the Philadelphia 76ers are going to have multiple wing players who can score. They got to deal with Josh Hart, Mikal, and OG just fighting over these screens and not allowing Towns to get fully taken advantage of in this coverage. See OG, how he fights through it? Now he's going to apply some back pressure. And this is what Towns could work on this season, applying pressure in this area right here. Apply some sort of pressure, get in the way, have a hand up, another hand out, and also pay attention to your man. See, OG is going to apply that back pressure, so will Josh Hart, and so will Mikal, especially Mikal with those long arms. OG, he's definitely going to apply that back pressure in case Kuzma right here tries to pull up. But right here, once again, this is where Towns has to at least learn how to apply some pressure here. Have a handout, swipe, have another hand up, try to prevent a shot so OG could recover and make this block. But this is why Josh Hart is in that starting lineup. One last example here of OG trying to get over this screen. Notice Towns reaction to Kuzma right here. Kuzma's going to go ahead and take this shot. But you see, notice the pressure. There's no pressure right here at all. Not a hand up, a hand out, to, possibly tip this. But OG applying a lot of back pressure right here. Mikal has the same ability as well as Josh Hart. So Towns, with his defensive liability, it is being covered up by having these three guys on the floor. And also Mikal provides a back line of rim protection. Towns right here does not even contest. When it comes to the pick and roll defense, Towns could put a bit more pep to his step. He showed he could do it last year during the Western Conference semifinals against the Nuggets. He hedged on certain screens, showing that he could keep up with Murray. And when the season is on the line, he could move vertically. But just going through a course of an 82-game season, it's more than likely we're not going to see the same effort. So when it comes to Jay Hart, offensively, his numbers this preseason doesn't necessarily stand out, but he is providing a lot of intangibles, including the spacing. Just the decisions of him either knowing when to get in the lane or just pop out for a three. It's making a whole lot of difference. As we've seen Brunson this preseason look like Patrick Ewing in the paint. He's just getting to the rack at will. Now right here, Jalen Brunson is going to make his way to the weak side, and Josh Hart is going to cut in. But as he cuts in, he actually stays down low. He could have made his way to the corner. Normally we see Quentin Grimes, that's his favorite spot to line up at. But watch right here as Brunson drives. See how he stays? That forces Gobert to stay. See, Gobert, normally if Hart was right here, he would have stepped up. But now because he's compromised, he has to defend the pass. Brunson gets an easier shot. Once again, it's small things like that doesn't necessarily come up on the stat sheet, but Josh Hart does help a lot with the spacing. He has a good feel for it. As Brunson and Towns run pick and roll, look at Josh Hart right here. Instead of camping out at the three-point line with Alexander, he's going to slowly bring him in. Pick and roll is set. Brunson, as soon as he makes his turn, notice how Josh Hart applying a bit of pressure. He's actually going to keep Alexander with him. Alexander can't necessarily collapse and get in Brunson's way. Dante is going to serve as the low man right here, leaving Mikal open. But Alexander can't quite leave Josh Hart open right here. He has to stay with him because he's making his way in. You see, had he camped out at the three-point line, Alexander could easily have collapsed. He wouldn't even have to be in this position. He would just had collapsed this way. But because you see right here, Josh Hart is wide open for the pass, potential pass. He has to stay with him. Here's another example right here. Pay attention to Josh Hart as he's going to make his way all the way around, dragging his man with him. And he's eventually going to make his way into the post. Notice how Brunson is now driving. His man has his head turned, has to get back. Mikal doing the same thing, trying to drag Kuzma away from the paint. Brunson on this drive. Look at Josh Hart's man. See, he's so focused on Hart, he can't necessarily close out fast enough on either potential pass or even Brunson just attacking himself. So Brunson is kind of, in a way, left one-on-one here. But both players right here are occupied with Mikal and Josh Hart. So this is the importance of having these guys on the floor at the same time. And you look at OG also, guys who can move off ball, kind of do the dirty work. In a way, this is like the Knicks version of Derek White and Drew Holiday. Here's some more examples right here. Pay attention to Josh Hart. Right here, he's going to give Karl Anthony Towns some options. Nice cut in now. They were just not able to finish that play. But good idea regardless. Now Josh Hart makes his way into the paint. But also, we got shooters way outside. Defenders are starting to worry about both. But check out Josh Hart. He stays patient. He doesn't necessarily quickly run out for a three. Him staying patient, Mikal making his runs right here to be more visible for Towns. Defenders got to pick and choose which one. But Josh Hart overall does a great job in creating a lot of opportunity off ball. He finds spacing all the time. As Jalen Brunson right here, he just misses him. It's wide open right here. Brunson misses him. Whether off ball or on ball, Josh Hart is always looking to create something for this offense. As right here, he fakes the screen, takes it himself, and provides a good look for OG. His numbers won't necessarily stand out like last season in the playoffs, but just pressure like this in transition, always applying rim pressure. This guy's always making cuts. And then you have Mikal and OG in the corners. Then you have Cat trailing at the end. This is lethal. But this open look right here is all because of him. And every contending team needs guys like this. We've seen the Miami Heat with LeBron James have Shane Battier. We see Drew Holiday and Derek White with the Boston Celtics. Dennis Rodman with the Bad Boy Pistons. Trevor Ariza with the Lakers. Tayshaun Prince with the Pistons also. Just historically, we've always seen these type of players that don't necessarily stand out on the stat sheet, but do provide intangible attributes to a championship team or just a team contending year in, year out. And a more recent person is Andre Iguodala of the Golden State Warriors.